morning. I hope my lighting's all right. I haven't fixed it or anything since the other day, so fuck it, whatever. You're not here to look at my face. What are you here for? Red Star, hello. Why are you here? That's the question. It'll be the eternal question. All right, let me just check the lights quickly. That's not too bad. It's all right. So hang on, let me just quickly. I really came prepared. There we go. That's better. Okay. The ukulele. So Bassman said he's here to see the ukulele. Yes. It is. It's quite a nice one, actually. It's not fucking cheap. Do you want to see it? Hang on, look. Oh, fuck, hit myself in the head. There we go, look. It's actually a Lanakai. It's really nice. It's a tenor ukulele. That's why it's bigger. Anyway. Maybe one day I might play. Oh, fuck, now I can't get it back on the wall. Okay. 80% chance that I forget that that's on the floor next to me after the stream and I fall over it and break the ukulele because that's Taya size. Yeah, so it's a tenor ukulele. I love it. I love playing the uke. It is hard though. I play soprano uke as well. It's tuned the same. It's not got the tenor tuning. It's got the standard uke tuning. But I just like the tones. It's just much nicer. And also because I've got giant man hands. Giant hands for a lady. Maybe I'm a boy. I've got giant hands. I can't, like the tiny little soprano ukuleles, I can't play. They're too little. So I like to play. Anyway, I'm a guitarist mostly, but it's bit of okay, side point. It's a real fucking if you play guitar, I mean I play piano a little bit in my head, but my hands are too old to play piano these days. But I play guitar for years, played guitar for 20 years. And I a couple of years ago decided it's probably more like five years ago now, I got a ukulele and I didn't, and I was like, I'm going to learn it. I had no idea what a head fuck the uke chords would be compared to the guitar chords. I know this is an absolutely irrelevant fucking topic, but there's a lot of musicians in my there's a lot of people who love music and like talking about that stuff. This is the stuff I want to talk about. I want to talk about like fucking arts and music and creativity, not fucking bullshit culture wars. Can this be over, please? So we can get back to talking about things that are cool. Anyway, playing guitar for what? Fuck. I've been playing guitar since I was 17 years old. So that's fucking, it's 23 years. Jesus fucking Christ. 23 years. 24 years. I'm 41. Fuck. But then to suddenly switch to uke, you had to completely learn all new chord patterns. And because guitar is once you get into that sort of muscle memory, a lot of musical instruments, if you play an instrument, I suggest that you play a similar instrument because it actually exercises the brain and pushes your muscle memory. Like even like guitar to bass is not the same because they've got the same tuning. But if you go to like say guitar to uke or like guitar to mandolin or something like that, it breaks your head, right? So I'm just gonna. I have to sort of moderate at the same time because it seems to be filtering chats. But anyway, so I'm sort of moving a few different gears today. So good morning. Right off the back of my little fucking rant this morning about can I just say I am so sick of the gaslighting that's coming out of these people that cancel culture is not real. It's fucking real. I can't believe what I'm seeing. I just can't believe that like these bullies, they're bullies. They're a cult and they're turning around and just it's not the fucking punch in the face. You can punch me in the face as much as you want, as long as you admit that you punched me in the face. Don't fucking punch me in the face and then tell me that I walked into a door and I made it up, okay? I know for a fact I am well networked, okay? I'm not a fucking idiot. I know comedians, artists, musicians, like all sorts of people, right? I could easily get a whole bunch of people to interview. Instead, I'm stuck interviewing the only fucking people that'll talk to me because somehow there's all these fuckwits in the background like putting a chill around me for the high crime of thinking biological sex is real. Now, this is fucking bullshit. Okay, I'm a good person. I am not fucking horrible. And just because I won't join your ridiculous fucking cult, and it is a cult, okay, fucking, I don't know, like these people, like, oh my God, I don't want to give this. Part of the reason I'm going to talk about this fucking histrionic personality disorder and energy vampires is because I'm dealing with this shit right now, which is I've had to, like over the years, I've dealt with trolls. I deal with this shit like a pro, right? I know when to engage. The only time you should engage with these people is when there's someone else that you're trying to persuade potentially watching. That's the only time you should engage with them, right? You can't convert true believers. Right? These people are no different to a fucking Jehovah's Witness who bangs on your door, demands your time, interrupts you, and then fucking abuses. Well, they don't abuse you, but they really, most of them, actually Jehovah's Witnesses are pretty respectful. But, like the people who just fucking stick fucking foot in the door, demanding you talk about God is like, well, no, I don't want to talk to you because you're a fucking cult and you've interrupted my morning tea. I don't care. Go away, you fucking pest. And then they say, well, I've got somebody who's fucking basically fucking defaming me behind my back at the moment, right? Trying to destroy like things that aren't even related to this. They just stumbled upon my channel, right? Yeah, fuck off they were. And like now of starting to sort of poison the well in communities that I participate in that are unrelated to this. Okay. It's not like they're on Twitter and engaging with me. And this person sent me fucking 4 videos, of course they were fucking videos. And like, it's just like accusing me of shit that I have no idea where they even came up with it. Like I gave some general advice to some people, like, based in professional capacity. And then suddenly they've just gone off on this massive conspiracy theory and they're making it their mission to try and get me fucking like to drag my name through the mud. This is the everyday for people like me. And so for the media and people that I trust, especially people that follow me and watch me and like me and have known me for years, are turning around and saying, well, cancel culture is not real. It's just it's not consequences. I'm proof of that, which is that because I have boundaries and I refuse to engage with a fucking psycho in a cult, that I'm the bad guy. That's gaslighting, okay? Like that's fucking gaslighting, and you're the one who is you are making excuses for abusers, okay? Stop it. Cancel culture is real. I've experienced it. I'm not J.K. Rowling. I don't have J.K. Rowling's fucking riches, okay? This impacts my ability to build an audience because the people that I could get on this thing and just talk about music and art and comedy and craft and freedom, I can't have on. Because these fuckwits have destroyed my fucking reputation, right? Not even to my face, mind you. They actually just make an accusation, and then when I refuse to engage with them, they just carry on with their fucking accusations to anyone who will listen. So this is why I'm doing today's video. Do not engage energy vampires, okay? They are fucking lunatics. They are vampires, all right? I cannot believe that somebody would approach you out of the blue, demand that you talk about fucking what they want to talk about, okay? When you say politely, no thank you, they then turn around and start smearing you to everybody around you, and they create a chill. Like Grimm said in our interview that he was told, again, not to talk to me because I'm a notorious TERF, whatever the fuck that even means. It's not a thing. It means that I have thoughts and opinions of my own and I have fucking reservations. That's it, okay? Fuck you and your little cult, all right? And I don't care. You can have whatever belief you want. You could believe in the fucking – I've always been, agnostic, okay? You can believe whatever the fuck you want. You could believe that – well, they probably do – that the earth is flat, right? Or that gravity is fatphobic. It's my favorite joke at the moment. Okay, I am fucking over it. I have the right to my beliefs without you destroying my life. Okay, fuck you. I am adult. You are child. You are moron. Me are smart. Okay, fuck off. You're an energy vampire. You do not own my time. You do not own me. You can't tell me what I can and cannot say. Okay? We're heading into anthem territory now. But I'm just saying, right? You don't own me. That's a song, isn't it? I listen to that song, so that's in my head. But I'm just saying, right? Oh my God. The delusion. This fucking cult. I just disagree. And I can disagree with evidence, with the backing of all of fucking humanity's learning behind me. So it's on you to fucking prove. And I do not owe anybody a conversation. I do not owe anybody my time, especially at the moment, because I am going through a lot of other things. And I do not owe you anything. Calm the fuck down, okay? And also, maybe if you see a fan community as your only fucking emotional support and outlet, you need therapy. Okay, let's move on. I may or may not be referring to an individual who may or may not be stalking me, but it's just there. That's my statement. That's my response. It's the only one you're going to get. You're blocked, okay? And if you continue to approach people around me, I will fucking come after you, okay? Because you need to be held accountable. I'm not naming because I'm not a dickhead. I'm not an asshole, okay? I am a pacifist. I just want them to go away. I want them to leave me alone, okay? And I want those around them to stop enabling them, okay? Because they are unwell and they have fucking, this is personality disorders out in fucking, plain sight. And this is what we're going to talk about, okay? Now, a lot of people talk about narcissistic personality disorder, but this is one, and again, this is just, a lot of this stuff is just sort of food for thought. As I'm writing, I come across various things, right? And I know that there's irony here, which is that it's like narcissistic personality disorder, like personality disorders in general, right? They're used as a weapon to sort of gaslight people. So there's irony there, right? I'm not saying that, one could argue that I probably have these traits, right? And I probably struggle with them, right? I think we all do. And like with narcissism, there's a healthy degree of narcissism, right? Which is basically, you can't completely not have any narcissism in your day-to-day life. There's a healthy degree and there's unhealthy degrees. But I think that where we've sort of gone wrong, again, I've been on the internet for most of my life, all of my adult life, right? Since I was, again, about the same length of time I've been playing guitar. So 25 years. Fucking hell. And through that time, obviously, and I'm writing about this at the moment, so a lot of this stuff is pending. But one thing that I have inadvertently learned throughout this thing is that when you are online, also, especially when you start out online as a sort of teenager and then into your 20s and then through motherhood and now through adulthood, that you have to separate your sense of self from your persona on the internet for a start. Like, I'm not like this on, I sort of get amped up. I have like 2 cups of coffee. You see sort of the ups and downs. Some days I feel it, some days I don't. But most of the time I'm fairly chill, fairly quiet. I can talk and I can chatter, but, a lot of it is sort of just, it exists separate to who I am as a person. And I think that a lot of people who have grown up with the internet see their internet relationships, it's such a fine balance. The internet relationships are real, which they are in one way, but in another, they're not. And that's where there needs to be that healthy separation. And I think that there's something that's just gone off kilter with technology that needs more research in terms of the way that our brains are developing, like in response to some of this tech. Like comparing, I'd be curious to see like maybe comparing sort of Gen X brains to Gen Z brains and seeing if there's any sort of developmental differences like that they can see on an fMRI. That would be a really interesting study, I reckon, because I think that there is something going on here where children are being exposed to online stuff early. They can't differentiate, and it sort of ruins their ability to differentiate between sort of reality and And if you can, if you can build whatever world you want digitally, why would a child not believe that? And they're told at school that they can sort of do whatever they want, and they can be whatever they want to be, and that all of these things are constructs. Maths is a construct. Of course, they're going to be a little bit fucking mental. Okay, so that's normal. That's not, anybody who's got any level of fucking reasonable education knows what's up here. Okay, we fucked up. We done fucked up with these kids. But I think it's interesting because there's a lot of people who I don't think they didn't grow up with this. Okay, I'm one of the very early. I think I was an early adopter, but I grew up on the internet, right? I grew up, I've made all the same mistakes. I've been the crash test dummy for all this stuff, right? So I overshared on everything. I blogged everything. I initially couldn't detach and also I had a username, like the Taylor username I've had since the beginning. But then that became attached to my real name and my real relationships. We went on Facebook, and then worlds collided because all the people that I was hanging out on sort of internet forums over here were sort of interacting with family members. And I've seen all of these shifts that have occurred. And in the middle of that, it's like, well, who am I as a person? Okay, who's Taya? And what I find interesting is that as somebody who I'm pretty moldable, I'm pretty gullible, right? I tend to let other people decide who I am early. I used to just go with the flow and just go, okay, whatever you think of me is what you think of me, and I'll just do that, right? But I was full persona. I used to swear I still swear a lot, but I used to be a lot more I used to engage. I think I used to and I think that might be a maturity thing, but it's also just, I think you reach a point like where I've been through like a lot of very devastating things, right? I continue to go through fucking stressful things all the time, right? I used to think that was everyone else's business or problem, right? And I used the internet to unload all of my shit. And I think that what we've done is we've created a machine that sort of feeds that. Like for me, my instincts is often to just shut it all down, but then it's counterintuitive because I was talking about this with the business model yesterday, last stream yesterday, not today, yesterday, right? About sort of the model being broken and the whole, this is all one big reality show audition. And that's how it feels, right? But it's that constant conflict between, in order to get your ideas out there, in order to make a living, in order to do your best work, by design, the system encourages the most unhealthy behaviors. And because I'm in that position where I'm currently growing my audience, I have to behave in a way that is more out there, more of a persona. It's by design, it's forced. I have to be more angry. I have to be more persuasive. I have to be more aggressive to get attention. And the problem is that because these things are designed like poker machines, you then start to feed off that attention. The dopamine hits, you got all that sort of stuff. And eventually you start to not be able to differentiate between this thing that you're doing, like your behavior, this necessary thing that you're doing as part of promoting a brand or trying to build a channel or, all of this sort of stuff, to have these really important conversations about, the culture wars, which are extremely important, okay, because it seeks to fucking undermine anything. This is just chaos, right? Anyway, it's a whole fucking thing. I'm so sick of this shit. It's like, how is this even a conversation at this point? I thought we'd evolved. Clearly we have not. Clearly we descend into mob rule the second it becomes fucking convenient. So anyway, but my question, the thing about this is that it's almost like we're being trained into personality disorders, if that makes sense. So even if you're not really inclined to have them, it's almost like by design. First of all, those that are on those things are more likely to have personality disorders, but also I think that they create them. I'm starting to, and again, look, personality disorders aside, being used as a weapon against women for having ordinary feelings. Like, I imagine that right now, if I went to a woke psychiatrist, I'm sure they would say that I have oppositional defiant disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, and all of those things. Like, personality disorders are used as a weapon for those that don't comply a lot of the time. Let's leave that aside, okay, and just look at the behaviors that the theory underneath this stuff. So let's look at histrionic personality disorder, right? We're not talking about narcissistic personality disorder, right? But this one is really interesting because I feel like this is just the nature of the internet, especially Twitter at the moment, which is that, and I'm not saying that the individuals necessarily have it, but I'm also thinking that what this does is it pushes and promotes this kind of behavior to the point where eventually you end up with this personality disorder. Because I sat there and I was like, look, because I know that it's quite funny actually, because I had a little bit of a identity, what's it called? Identity quake. Have you heard of that before, that term, identity quake? Over this, because I was sitting there going, okay, I'm going to do a thing on emotional vampires. All right. I'm going to talk about how people, there's always going to be people that just take all of your energy, all of your time, that succubus, right? That fucking, all of those sorts of archetypes, the people that will just never quit. There is no winning. The only time you should engage with someone like that is if there are other people that you're trying to convince or persuade, because they can't be persuaded. They're not there for the argument, right? They're there to suck all of the energy out of you, right? And it's the same thing with narcissists. You cut them off from you just don't be their supply, right? There's people that just thrive on drama, right? And there's varying degrees of this. But I started to read it, okay, and I went, holy shit, I think I might be one. And I think we all are. I think that's the thing, is that on some level, a lot of us all are emotional vampires when it comes to online conduct. Okay, now I separate between the two, right? Because obviously there's part of this that's my job and part of it that's me as a person, right? But it is actually just kind of funny to read, right? So I love Mark Manson. Read his new book, but this was a nice little list, and it was like, here's a quiz for you to take. Answer the following questions. Be as honest as possible. And I was like, oh shit, okay. So do you feel that people often don't or can't understand you or your problems? Do you feel that there are many barriers in your life which you have no control over? Do you often ask for help from others and or feel like few people are willing to help you? Do you feel like you often don't receive the attention or appreciation that you deserve? I don't know about that. I don't like that stuff. But for me, right? So one, yes. But that's mostly just because I'm not good at communicating things like that. Do you feel there are many barriers in your life which you have no control over? Well, yes, because see, the thing is that there are people who have actual problems, right? Which is that, I've got lots of health problems and there's lots of other things going on. So, you go, yeah, well, I don't have control over it, but it's how you deal with it as a solution. Do you often ask for help? Never. That's not true. I don't feel that at all. Do you feel like you often don't receive the attention or appreciation that you deserve? No. I think I get precisely whatever. I don't thrive on that. Do people often complain that you don't listen to them when in fact you feel like they don't listen to you? Yeah, but that's autism. That's like ADHD and autism cluster. I don't think that that's necessarily, but again, this is about whether you're an emotional vampire. I find this really interesting. Other people might not find this interesting, but I do. Do you feel like most people have lives that are much easier than yours? Well, yeah, because most people don't have the shit that I've got, but I do have, in other areas, I have it easier than others. Like I have the freedom to do this, that kind of stuff, right? Of course I do. Like, I don't focus on things that go wrong. I tend to focus on what I can do to solve the problem. But this is actually more, I used to be 100% like this when I was younger. Like I just complete and utter fucking, like, I'm a textbook case of an emotional fucking drain. Do you fight with close friends and loved ones? Often, no, but I do tend to cut them off. I do tend to just go, nah, I don't need your shit. Bye. Do people suddenly drop contact with you with no explanation and refuse to communicate with you again? Well, yeah, but that's because I'm fucking, I'm fighting a cult and all of my friends are joining the cult. See, this is the problem. This is gaslighting too. Because it's not my fault. It's not anything. It's just they can't deal with fucking like the fact that biological sex is real. They just, anyway, whatever. Do you often feel helpless, like you have little opportunity to improve your life? No, but I used to feel that way. I used to be an absolute victim. So I talk about this stuff like this. There's been a lot of growth with me, right, over the years. But yeah, so I'm probably borderline-ish there, right? But I think it's just interesting, right? And that kind of made me go, oh, fuck. And I've been doing a lot of research into sort of histrionic personalities and sort of the nature of online media at the moment. And I was like, look, again, I don't know how we solve this, because it's like this machine. It's an attention machine, but we've got people that are addicted to attention. But in order to build the quality relationships and connections that we've got, we need to get the attention of people and find people. But by its nature, you've got to find attention. So it's like, it's really fucking hard, and it confuses the shit out of me, because it's like, well, how do we work through that? I don't know. Anyway, I just thought this was interesting. So, a lot of this stuff, we're talking about cluster Bs overlap with each other. So borderline narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, histrionic personality, they all overlap, right? But this one seems to be a more accurate one, rather than just narcissism. I mean, every personality disorder has an element of narcissism to it, okay? Because a lot of the features and interpersonal features are the same, right? And the impact on the people around you are the same for a cluster B, no matter what they are, right? I think that's a worth thing. But I just thought this was interesting, because a lot of people haven't heard of this, right? So histrionic personality disorder is defined by the APA as a personality disorder characterized by a pattern of excessive attention-seeking behaviors, usually beginning in early adulthood, including inappropriate seduction and an excessive need for approval. Oh my God, that's totally me. It used to be me. Now I don't give a shit. And I think a lot of that comes with age, but also just I've been through so much now that I just go, fuck it. I can't win no matter what I do. Like, you get zugs wanged eventually, and you just go, you realize that you can't win. The game's rigged, and you go, fuck it. I may as well just do what I want to do. I don't care anymore. So people diagnosed with the disorder are said to be lively, dramatic, vivacious, enthusiastic, and flirtatious. See, that's the thing. I'm funny. I have a political issue, especially as a feminist, with these sorts of things, because it looks very creepily like, hysteria and those sorts of things. And there's a lot of people like, I think personality disorders are sort of another tool of oppression. But let's just have a thought experiment. So HBD is diagnosed 4 times as frequently in women as men. Shock, horror, surprise. God forbid a woman want attention and stuff. But anyway, it affects 2 to 3% of the general population and 10 to 15% in inpatient and outpatient mental health institutions. 10 to 15, that's surprising, because that means that it's probably comorbid with things like depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, those sorts of things. And then they just tack this fucking thing on, right? Yeah, good luck. But anyway, I just thought it was interesting. So HPD lies in the dramatic cluster of personality disorders. People with HPD have a high need for attention, make loud and inappropriate appearances. That's me, but that's just because I don't give a fuck. So I sit there and this is what happens, is you start self-diagnosing and going, oh my God, do I stream? I don't know. I don't do it for the attention. I do it because it's for the cause. Is that the same thing? That's where this is weird and interesting, like those lines, right? Anyway, people with HBD have a high need for attention, make loud and inappropriate appearances, exaggerate their behaviors and emotions, and crave stimulation. Like, is that not Twitter in a fucking nutshell? They may exhibit sexually provocative behavior. Oh, God forbid that would happen. Express strong emotions with an impressionistic style, which I do as part of my brand. Okay, hyperbole. It's almost like every comedian ever has this disorder. This is the problem with personality disorders, by the way, and also the danger of diagnosing people from afar. Because once you start to sort of apply these sorts of things, right, you do the exact same things that these sort of woke culty people do, which is you make some assumptions and you fill in gaps based on your perceptions and biases. And this is awful, right? I'm just saying this is interesting because basically this would be, lost my words. Like this is a weapon. This can be used unfairly as well, and it can be used to gaslight somebody, right? Somebody could actually just be naturally charismatic and funny and like comedy and like expressing themselves, and maybe this is me in denial, but I'm just saying, right, that don't diagnose personality disorders from afar. That's not cool. Okay. I've had those things slapped on me just by virtue because I understand that outrageous builds an audience and that outrageous spreads, and that you often say things that are a bit more hyperbolic in order to get traction. That's what you're trying to do. I'm trying to build an audience, people. It's what you do. Comedians exaggerate, right? And that's where I watched a thing with Andrew Doyle where he was talking about how there's people who really believe that the comedian that they see on the stage is actually him. And that's where I think this real names policy stuff has really been the problem, because up until sort of when Facebook hit in 2007, you could be anonymous. You had a username, you had a persona. It was understood that you were anonymous. But eventually persona clashed with person, and we had to figure it out. Like performers, people who work in the industry, it takes years to even get to the point where you understand that when people attack the comedian or the artist, or they're not attacking the person, they're attacking the character that they see in the mind. There comes a point where when you put yourself out there, right, whether it's a tweet, right, whether it's whether it's an essay, whether it's even if it's high art, if it's a movie, there comes a point where you no longer own the message. It's not yours anymore, right? So with art, anything you create, the second you tweet something, you don't own it anymore. It's out in the world, okay? Now, and this is where studying things like semiotics really helps, because you start to understand that there are components to communication. You've got the message, right? The intended message, the first start, which is, the signal, right? I can't remember the exact words, so if I fuck it up, you got signifier, and those things. I forget the actual words. But a message is only as good as how it's received, right? You don't own it. Once it's out of your mouth or out in a tweet or written, right? And I've suffered this too, because this is a big part of the reason why I started to do video, was because my writing tone is actually probably comes across as a lot more aggressive than I intend. And also people don't hear sort of the sarcastic, funny tones or the nudge winks or those sorts of things that I thought were clear. Like, they're pretty clear, but I thought they were, but people really thought that I was really angry as a person. I'm not. I'm pretty chill. I'll laugh and I'll fucking have a moment and I'll get ramped up, right? But I'm a comedian at heart, right? I'm the most stage frightened comedian that ever existed, but I'm wired like one, which is that I'll always go for I'll just try to get the laugh or try to get the reaction. Maybe I do have the HBD thing. I don't know. It's like, oh my God. Because then they said that it was like linked to like lack of neglect and abuse as a child and stuff. And I'm like, that sounds like me. I just want my mummy to love me. No, I don't care. But I'm just saying, I've dealt with all my shit as best as anyone can. But I just thought it was, but Karen pointed out, right? Good point about structures. Hard to give attention to quiet, empathetic, secure people. Yeah, and that's the nature of the beast, right? The nature of the beast is that we have to be versions of ourselves that are bigger than we are in real life. Okay. And it's part of the reason why I started to do video, because I wanted people to see sort of more my little verbal tics and my shyness and my weird sense of humor and my, all those sorts of things that you don't necessarily get, that there's actually a person here. Okay. Now there's a bunch. Now this is where TikTok becomes a bit of a problem, because now you've got to do that. You've got to capture yourself in 15 seconds, and you've got to be outrageous, and you've got to be all these things. So TikTok is like a video form of Twitter, which is even worse somehow. I don't know. Again, I'm open to the idea that I'm old, but long form content is obviously better. In person is better. Long form is better. But the problem is that our whole fucking attention, the attention economy is built on tweets and TikToks and fucking bursts, okay? And that's where it becomes a bit of a problem, because people get a snapshot of who you are, all right? Now, I do, like, yeah, that's why I deliberately just talk and see how it goes, and you get to see. That's why, I don't know, that's why I think there's something to be said for not editing and just sort of talking, having a chat, letting everyone see the sort of warts and all stuff. This is why I think live streaming is such a great thing, because people get to see you for who you really are. And those that are willing to stick through the streams and soldier on, or read your long form work, or, you know, read your book, they might get a better understanding of who you are versus what, you know, your tweets are. That's why I want to do the verboten stuff. And that's why I'm a bit pissed off that I'm now in the corner where I have to speak to the same people that everyone else has seen, because they're the only people that'll talk to me. It's really frustrating. It's like, fucking hell. Can you just be brave? If you disagree with me, can you just be one of the fucking brave people and talk to me? Because I'm not that scary. I'm pretty cool. I'm pretty funny. I'm accessible. Anyway, be brave. Don't be a pussy. I was sitting there yesterday. I'm sitting there watching these fucking celebrities who are just caving. And I know that they don't believe what they believe, right? I know it with everything that I fucking, because I know them. And it's like, you're a fucking coward. You're a pussy. You just fuck. Just, it's so frustrating. Anyway, more open letters, please. Can we all just start writing open letters and a commitment to freedom of association and stuff again? Thank you very much. So, what am I talking about? What was I talking about? I've got comments here. Bassman said, protecting your ego is necessary, right? Protecting your ego is necessary. That's called healthy boundaries, right? And that's healthy. And that's the difference, right? Is that these, you know, and I don't know, like, I'm not talking about, the only reason I talk about the woke people is because they're the immediate fucking problem. You know, like bullies, this is how bullies behave, online bullies in communities in general, right? Which it's not like I haven't had fucking right-wing stalkers and fucking, you know, male stalkers and crazy people and motherhood forum stalkers over the period of time. I've dealt with all this stuff. And I just don't give them energy. Just bye-bye. Just do not engage, okay? And they will, you know, eventually they'll go away. So, Bassman said, that's why they're celebrities. They trade integrity for fame. Yeah, sometimes. But also just, you know, sometimes they're just, you know, they're stuck. Like everyone, they might be celebrities, but, you know, everyone's got to, I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't understand why people just capitulate to this. If we had I hope we're seeing this. I hope we're just going to see more and more people just stick their neck out and go, enough, you know, and just stop engaging with lunatics and get back on track, right? I don't know. Yeah. And this is just, again, this is fucking America dominating everything as well. This is all an American fight, you know, but it's just bleeding in everywhere else. So, but yeah, that's the thing. You do, I understand that, because there's been times where I've traded my integrity and actually, no, I've never really done that, to be honest. Usually if I've traded my integrity for a job or for fame or anything that's not, that is empty, I end up in a nut house, figuratively speaking, within about 3 months. I can't do it. I don't know how people sleep. I don't know how maybe they just drink themselves to death. I don't know. But we don't know what's behind. Again, we're making assumptions. We don't know what's behind there. A lot of people, you know, like celebrities in particular, a lot of them have contracts and will be sued for millions of dollars if they breach it, right? So it's not, so it's not as always. I try to be charitable as I can, and A lot of them, don't forget that a lot of celebrities are also a corporation in their own right. They have employees, they have families, they have a whole industry around them, especially the big ones, right? Especially bigger celebrities. They hire people, so they have responsibilities. And I think everybody's kind of got that level of trade-off that they're willing to make for that. Like for me, my threshold's lower. Like I like to work for myself purely so that I can say what I want, and I'm not responsible for feeding other people or, like I don't like that noose around my neck. All right. That's all right. Bassman said, I'm being grouchy. Yeah, that's okay. Bassman's from Turkey, by the way, Istanbul. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, global audience. Yeah, this is the thing. Thinking out loud. What happened to just one? Like I did a rant about this once. Like if you've been around, I know not many of us have been around tables with friends lately, but remember those days, and where you could just be sitting around with a group of friends, and someone would go, "Oh, I wonder what XYZ is." And there's always that one cunt who pulls out their phone, and I turn around and go, no, I just want to wonder for a minute. I don't need the answer. I just want to sit and have a conversation about what the answers might be. Okay. You don't get out your phone, find the first response. Like there's a fucking asshole that did this around the table all the time, and it drove me nuts. She did it to my kid, where they were talking about, like, my kid was like, oh, the plural of octopus is octopodes, right? He was correct. And then we were just talking about it, and I was like, that's a really cool insight, and blah, blah, blah. And this fucking dumb cunt, she had to get the phone out to prove a kid wrong. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you that you're like, oh, I got to win this argument? It's like, how do we get back to just, and I know that, again, maybe I'm old, but I'm not old because I adopt all this stuff and I use it. Right. But, can't we just sit around and just wonder? Like one of my fondest memories, like I've got a lot of bad memories, but one of my fondest ones was with my dad. He was a drunk, and he used to talk shit, but he was probably drunk. But one of the most precious memories that I have of my dad was staying up on a school night, fucking late, talking about the meaning of life and coming up with theories about the meaning of life and being funny and laughing and having these mad cat theories about the meaning of life. And I just worry that we've lost all of that, because there's always some dickhead that's going to pull their phone out and go, well, what is the meaning of life? And Google will go, to buy things and click on ads and consume and consume and consume until you are no longer a person. But yeah, it is. It's just like, it's like the smartphone killed banter. It absolutely did. And it killed wonder. And that's sad. Imagine going through life being certain of everything. I was pretty good at that, actually. Like I was born gifted, told I was, treated like I was the smartest person in the world, thought I was the smartest person in the world. Then I realized very, very quickly that I was fucking wrong about a few things. And this is welcome to today. Okay. But, it's just like, how do we get back to that? How do we get back to that? And I'm not saying, and I know that they're like, oh, don't yelling at clouds and stuff. It's not that, because I love technology. I love what it does. I love that it allows me to connect with you here like this, from around the world, from fucking Istanbul to London to fucking America to Canada. And I get to meet and if not for those like-minded people and sort of, unloading on fucking friends in the UK who have a podcast, and unloading on them because they've gone through the exact same thing, and they're making me feel like I'm not fucking crazy. Okay. And go, no. It's just like, at least I'm able to find some sort of support network right through all of this stuff, because honestly, without it, I'd be fucking nuts, because everyone around me has lost their fucking minds. Like my university came out and like in support of non-binary day. And I was like, well, that's another one gone. My own, like, it's like, oy. Thank you. ECU used to be a good women-friendly university. Now I know that it's not. So that's awesome. Thank you. Well, again, they're not everyone's not getting ADD with new technology. I have ADHD. It's actually a very serious condition. I don't believe they're getting ADHD. I don't think that's correct. But I think that by design it encourages the worst parts of a lot of these disorders, and it capitalizes on, I think what it does is it magnifies a lot of our healthy, so like even like the block button, right, that you could argue that helps you to exercise healthy boundaries, but what it is it's now weaponized as something that is a nasty move rather than just the affirmation of boundaries, right? That's why I like the mute button better, because they don't know they've been muted. And but also people, and then you get a whole culture around people who enjoy being blocked by people. Like, I don't enjoy that. I find that hurtful, because I generally keep my nose fairly clean. And it's like, well, you can choose that you don't want to see it, but yeah, it just, and again, I've worked in these things, right? I worked in UX. I know what these things do. So with Twitter, they design, it's basically like a slot machine. It's gamified, right? You're incentivized to say outrageous shit. You are rewarded with notifications and bing and swish and bing. Those sounds aren't an accident, okay? They sound like slot machines. But the problem is that that tension between, it's become the way you build an audience. What am I going to do? Print out flyers and put them in people's fucking letterboxes? No, I got to go on Twitter, right? Sorry, there's one that's held for review. Sorry, Philip, here you go. I'm just going to, but yes, it is a dopamine addiction, right? So it's slightly different. So ADHD is actually a dopamine dysfunction, not an addiction. So if anything, I don't think it's AD. I know that you're just being flippant and glib, but I just want to make sure that it's correct, because I don't want to be adding to the fucking shit kicking of ADHD people, because we suffer enough. We really do suffer enough because people make fun of us. But dopamine addiction, absolutely. And non-epinephrine and what's the other hormone? But it's also, it can't. If you know anything about the sort of the endocrine feedback loop, right? The HPA axis. See, I know things, which is that, cortisol flowing through your veins 24/7. That causes dysfunction, right? That's like, actually, that might be a Twitter. You should A/B test that. Actually, maybe that's why Parkinson's is on the rise. It's not actually an out there theory. Because in one of my many health adventures, I was explored for, I was examined because I had really extremely high cortisol in my system, and they thought that I might have had a neuroendocrine tumor, right? And this was years ago. And so me being me, learned everything that I needed to know about neuroendocrine tumors. So I know a lot about that. But HPA axis, right? So you can't, it's not just one hormone that sort of goes off kilter when you play with these things, right? That's why you can't just inject. This is why people have serious reservations about just injecting testosterone or injecting these things. They're not benign. They're not like Panadol. They're not like paracetamol. They have hormones it's very specific and it's a very delicate system, that feedback loop. If you have a little bit too much prolactin, for example, men can start leaking boobs. Like they get leaking boobs if they have a prolactin secreting tumor, right? Cortisol, which is a stress hormone, right? Too much of that, you gain weight, you get fucking acne, you get all sorts of symptoms, and you also can end up with, or not enough cortisol, and you end up with things like Addison's disease, and you can't fucking get up, right? There's all these varying things, right? Where if you're constantly addicted to this rush, it's not benign. It's not benign. And I have a feeling that we're going to have, I don't know, I'm starting to wonder if social media is going to be the cigarettes of this generation. Like, I can't help but wonder if there's just a big unintended consequences physiologically that we're not seeing. And a lot of this may be, and okay, see, this is banter, and I'm wondering, nobody correct me because this is banter here, phones away, but that a lot of the gender stuff and dysphoria and hormonal imbalances that we're seeing are actually sort of more of a side effect of clusterfuck of hormone dysfunctions, right? Not through various toxins and social, but also the dopamine, cortisol clusterfuck that's happening with devices. I can't help but wonder if it's causing other knock-on like impacts, like low testosterone or high estrogen or all those sorts of things. It'd be interesting. I wish we could just do research without getting cancelled. That's the thing. Can I clarify something? I'm not opposed to trans people. Okay, I believe they're real. I believe they exist. And I believe that there needs to be more research, and I support the research. The problem I have is that anyone who tries to do research gets cancelled. Okay, so that's the thing, right? I want the discussion to be had. That's it. So anyway, well, that's annoying, isn't it? Can I not have one vice? Well, yeah, that's the problem, right? I sit here and I go, well, I helped build some of this machine. I helped build a lot of this shit, right? I know how this, and it's like my body's falling apart, and I sit there and I go, I can't help but wonder, because like the stress and again, this is just speculative, but maybe I am a crash test dummy for all of this stuff, and as an early adopter, I could be an interesting like research subject to see maybe I should go and get hormone panels and everything done, and start doing anyway. So that's a side point. But, because my body's fucking falling apart. And I do wonder. I wonder, if it's something lifestyle like that. But, yeah, anyway. That was a side point. What was I talking about? Yeah, but we're trained into personality disorders, right? But I feel like we're being trained into them. I feel like by the actual machine. Encourages it. It encourages our worst behaviors, our most toxic behaviors, our most obsessive behaviors, and our most dysfunctional ones. And, like even this, for me to stream, that could be the fact that I do videos every day and think that the world cares what I have to say. That could easily be reframed as a narcissistic thing. I don't think it is. I think it's just that I want to get my thoughts down and I'm too lazy to write. But, again, it's how you frame it, right? But yeah, I do wonder, right, that if there's a causal link. And again, that's well beyond my expertise and understanding, right? But, I read. Like I said, I kind of explained the HPA axis to you, sort of. I know enough of it. I know a little about a lot of things, and I know a lot about a few fucking boring things. It's just enough to get through. I don't understand people, though. I never will. I will never understand how a whole fucking, all of society is gaslighting me right now and telling me that I'm a bad person. I will never understand that, right? But yeah, so Philip said, some of the best conversations I had were sitting around a coffee table, talking shit with friends, making shit up and seeing what comes of it. Yeah, absolutely, right? And that's the problem, right? If you've seen the comment, like Twitter, you can't even fucking have a joke anymore without some dumb literal fuck just ruining it. And it's like, well, actually, it's like, for fuck's sake. I just hate those. I don't like literal people in general because I'm prone to being literal, right? I'm on the autistic spectrum. I do struggle. I don't deal well. I especially don't deal well with gaslighting because I'm expected to interpret signals and subtext where I struggle and I tend to assume the worst. So if in a relationship setting, someone does something and they start sending subtle hints and cues and all of that sort of stuff, I'm not going to figure it out. I'm going to assume the worst. And so often you have to just explicitly say okay, this is the plan, this is the thing. And I'll go, oh, okay, we're cool. All right. And that's why, it annoys me when people don't explicitly expect me to understand stuff. And that's why I love Paul, because he's the same. He's we just ask each other for what we want and directly, and we just go, okay, no subtext, because we can't work with subtext. I can create subtext and write subtext, and I can understand it, but on an interpersonal level, when it affects me emotionally, I don't see any subtext. I just assume the worst. So that's why I understand a lot of these things, because I have a tendency to be that person. I have a tendency towards narcissism and histrionics and like instability and negativity. Like I tend to be that kind of person, and I fight it a lot, you know, like I really do fight that demon. So it's hard when I see people failing to overcome it. I sympathize with them, but at the same time, it's like, dude, I'm not your problem. You get like, this is not my fucking problem. I've done the work on myself. I don't need your shit. And that's why I think with online, it's interesting just to see, because there's people who've just made this their whole life and they have no sense of identity outside of, like, this is why this ideology, the woke ideology, is so toxic in particular, because it really is one of those things where all you need to know is one thing, right? Andrew Doyle's talked about this as well. But you tell me one thing about that person, right? And I know everything I need to know about that person. And that is really sad, because I try my best to not do that. And yet they prove me wrong every time. They behave in an exact, precise way, like cult members, right? Got the uniform, got the same look. They behave a certain way. They have no boundaries. They have no self-control, no emotional regulation. You know, they engage in certain behaviors. They have every like ideological inconsistency and belief. There's nothing that's not cookie cutter, right? And that's why ideology is so dangerous online, because they're basically bots. Like, this was my short story that I wrote, wrote in my head. I didn't write it. It's one of the ideas. And then South Park came out with an episode about all of everyone's search history being released. But the other one was basically that you're trying to outrun robots, but the protagonist is actually a robot trying to outrun the humans that look like bots. And I think that that's what we're seeing, is that the humans are actually the ones that are weaponized into fucking human stupidity, is the thing that's being weaponized as bots. I don't think we have to worry about AI. I think we have to worry about the opposite, which is the human stupidity that's like gamed by fucking all of these things. It's just crazy, you know. Anyway, I went off on a tangent. Has anyone got any comments? Yeah, jokes are so 90s. Fastman said, jokes are so 90s. Yeah, I know. We're so old. It's amazing how you could just sit there. Like, I saw a thing yesterday about top surgeries with like a kid who drew a picture for her surgeon of her smiling with him holding her boobs removed with blood dripping from them. And I'm sitting there going, look, are they trolling us? Is this trolling? Or is this, how do people not see how horrific this is and not fucking lose their fucking cool and go, not okay, what the fuck? And Paul actually suggested that it's just we're desensitized to it. People just scroll past it and go, oh yeah, here's another fucked up thing that I'm not going to do anything about. Here's another fucked up thing that I'm not going to do anything about. We're so just used to just scrolling through horrific shit and untrue shit that when something really alarming and really important, such as the fact that they're doing top surgeries on 13-year-old girls in the US, right? And all of this sort of stuff. And when something actually horrific and actually important shows up, that we miss it and ignore it, right? I just can't believe how people aren't talking about this stuff, right? And it's like that banality of evil, like it's banality of fucking horrific content. Like I want to talk about this probably separately, but you know, like watching my sons go on gaming on like the Minecraft thing, at the online multiplayer. And it's actually pretty funny, because, you know, they go, oh yeah, he's sitting there and he's like, oh yeah, fucking pedo, Nazis, pedo, Nazi. He just blocks them and he laughs and we laugh. But there's a part of me that goes, that shouldn't be his response. It shouldn't be normal, right? When we were little, the man in the van was a novelty, you know. It was like there was the old dude on the street, like, you know, who'd have his dick out while you walked home from school. Like, that was my childhood. It's true though. Like oh my god, the stories. Oh, gross. No, but you know, like, I just find it funny that like it's that at scale. It's that all the time now. And it shouldn't be normal, but I don't know the solution, because the only way that we can do it is to create these safe spaces. But what I'm seeing is these fucking pedos, murderers and creeps winning. And that's what the dissonance is astonishing. I don't understand it. Like how Reddit can be openly grooming and openly supporting the most horrific violent porn, and yet ban fucking, like, it's amazing. I hope that this is just a catastrophic overcorrection that's going to go away soon, because it's so deeply worrying. You know, it's like, it's crazy. You know, yeah, even flashes, right, seem innocent now. It's because now it's just normal for me to receive that shit. It's just normal every day. Some form of like sexually harassing thing, threatening thing, name calling thing, you know, abusive thing. You know, and if they don't get to me, they get to those around me or those that are associated with me. And it's just like, what the fuck? Who the fuck do you think you are, that you can just go after people like that without any consequences? It's astonishing, absolutely astonishing, you know. Is this sustainable? I'm starting to think, here you go, answer me. I don't believe that this is sustainable. I think this is going to be a failed experiment. And I think that if institutions can hang on, that this will self-correct through the legal system. I'm hoping that the legal system can be, the common law system can be robust enough to withstand it. But I think that we may be in the middle of the sort of big doubling down, or we're heading for disaster. I've said this before. There's two fucking outcomes here. There's two outcomes, and one of them is that it's hilarious and they attempted a coup and all this stuff. The other one is that we are heading into an absolute fucking nightmare. And it's actually really legitimately fucking scary that we're heading into basically what looks like global fucking totalitarianism, a global one. Okay, not isolated to one country, but a global fucking totalitarian movement. That's terrifying, you know. So Philip said, I think these people were not socialized as children, and as such, they've been stunted in their growth and have latched onto what they see as normal and copy-paste onto themselves. Absolutely. And also, we've been telling them, it's our fault as parents. We've been telling them they can do what they do, anything they want. Everyone gets a trophy. Everyone is special. Everyone is this, you know, you are the most magical thing in the world. Don't ever let your baby cry no matter what you do, because that's abuse, right? All of these messages to mothers. I can talk about the messages that I was given as a young fucking mother about what a terrible parent I was because I, you know, formula fed my daughter and, you know, all of these sorts of things. Right. Or, you know, let her to cry because I thought that she needed to learn, you know, like I had a different approach and I wasn't a fucking, you know, natural parent, and the shit that I got for that. Right. I tend to be a fairly free range parent, but I also think that my kids are actually a bit more robust because of it. You know, the only time that like we've had problems is when like, yeah, anyway, I can't talk about personal stuff on here, but me and my ex differ on our approaches. One of which is, you know, I tend to be a little harsher, a little more real world than he is. And I tend to just like, he tends to sort of allow them to be, anyway. But that's a problem, especially, and even divorce. That's another thing, which is that when you divorce, you then end up with another person parenting your child who may not be a very good person themselves as well, and you may disagree on that. So you lose a lot of the control over like your parenting. So it's very complicated, and that's where, and also with this removal of children from their parents, for parents who fucking don't even know their kid's trans, they just assume their parents are transphobic, and the second the parent asks any questions or goes, hey, do you think surgery is really wise, that child gets ripped away. And it's another thing. Let's not talk like, yeah, there's so many different angles and it's so complex, right? We're talking about 50 years of stuff that we need to undo from all angles in order to get back on track. And it's just a shame that none of the actual adults. Was anyone ever really in charge? That's what I'm starting to wonder. You know, I'm an adult. I'm trying to do my bit. And I realized that you can't herd these sheep. Fuck me. You know, what's it going to take? I think people, it's just astonishing. Oh my God. How are people not out going, fuck off? Maybe they are. Honestly, I've been seeing more and more people like start to stick their necks out and go, nah. I think that this forced reading of white fragility might backfire. Because once people see, it's one thing to sit there and parrot the ideas of white fragility, right? Which is that thing where you've got to look at, self-reflect and not be defensive as white. That's a meme. That's a macro. That's like 5 words. If you actually read the book, right? And because your employer demands you read the book, right? There's going to be a large portion of people that say, that is racist. That is a racist book. That's the most racist shit. I grew up in a multicultural suburb, like low socioeconomic, like state housing, government housing type of situation. And so I grew up poor with other poor kids, with black kids and white kids and Asian kids and all that sort of stuff, right? And basically white fragility I heard all of the racist shit because I was hanging out with my friends, okay? I was the white kid. And I heard all their racist shit and all the racist shit that came out of my family's mouths about my friends, right? And I'm sorry, but I know what racist fucking shit sounds like. White fragility is racist, okay? And it's not power, okay? It's not prejudice plus power. It's prejudice. Anyway, let's just keep fucking fighting the good fight, shall we? As long as there's 10 of us, there's still 10 of us, eh? As long as there's people still tuning in and supporting each other and hanging out, maybe we can just fucking get through this. But I don't know how long it's going to be. Every day I think I'm going to get banned from YouTube or Twitter. I expect it. I haven't so far, but that's probably because I'm not big enough. Eventually I will be. Well, maybe I won't be. They're doing their best to make sure that I don't get seen and don't get an audience or anything like that. Like, tell your friends if you want, they're doing their best to make sure that people like me are suppressed in conversation. But this one's, can you explain white fragility some more? I can. However, I end up then being another white person talking about race. And the problem with me talking about white fragility and calling it racist is that its built-in defense is that I'm racist by challenging it. And so by trying to challenge it, I'm falling for the trap. And it's like that thing. So I would rather try to get people who I can try, but it's territory that, first of all, like I've talked about some of the race stuff with as a child protection worker in previous videos, my experiences with race as a child and in child protection, especially when you're in poverty. Like this white fragility shit, this is all upper class nonsense. They've gone and injected a toxic fucking ideology. Like a hungry kid doesn't care who gives them food. Okay, they care that they're being helped. That's it. And it's like, it is so just upper class US horse shit. And it's just not related to anything that I can relate to on the ground as a poor kid, a poor white kid with black friends in Australia. And I've always been on the right side of fighting for the rights of Indigenous people. And this is incredibly fucking complex, okay? And but basically I can explain white fragility, but I don't feel it's my place, because I'm just going to say I've read it. I read it last year before all of this stuff. I read it last year when I've read all of these race things. It's pulp nonfiction. There's a whole industry. I've talked about this before. This woke thing is an industry. That's why it's just a book factory, a fucking flack factory, a media factory, ad factory. All the ad agencies just shit out content and content and content. It's just a machine of shit. It's basically just it's junk food, right? It's junk food philosophy. And that's what they've done. All these postmodern degrees are basically, they're cheap degrees so that you can say you've been to college and you've gotten a degree. And you've got it's basically, well, it's McDonald's. it's a cornflakes degree. It doesn't. There's not really any substance to it. If you've got qualified journalists breaching ethics on a daily basis, then they're not being trained very well, because media ethics and media law are core units in a journalism degree. So if they're breaching those, then there's something wrong with that degree. Okay. Thankfully, I did a lot of my studies before a lot of this stuff took over. So I know that, there's certain professional standards that people are expected to abide by in order to fucking attach themselves to certain professions, right? And it used to be that a journalist had to fucking sign up to some basic media ethics, right? But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to fix this. All you can do is just keep speaking, especially when they don't want you to, and don't engage them. And this was not about emotional vampires, but it is very much about that, which is about the thing that they want to do is to sap you of your will, to your energy. Like I've been pretty low energy. I haven't done any verboten interviews for some time, because after interviewing Graham, the pushback, I started to go, fuck, is this really what I want to do? But there comes a point where you're already in by association. So you may as well just keep going, keep trying, keep sort of tapping, hacking away at the sort of edges, and chipping away is what I was trying to think. Chipping away at the edges of it all, and hoping that slowly people get braver and braver and more willing to talk to me over time. And, hopefully eventually we can get back to that, right? And that's the thing, right? So Philip said, if you take everything away from someone, they have nothing to lose. And I'm in that position, right? Thankfully, I actually got really sick like 2 years ago, and was just incapacitated. So kind of tanked my business, and I came out different. It's another one of those. I've had several identity quakes in my life, but that's another one where I realized that just how short my life could be, right? But I've been in positions where I've lost everything several times, so I'm not really someone who's worried about that, right? But I do care about what's wrong with our culture. But anyway, so I'm not saying that I would do this or endorse it, so AFP can eat it, but I can see someone hitting back Port Arthur style, and this would be bad for everyone. Yes, and that's my big concern. And I was talking to Konstantin on trigonometry yesterday about this, and we're both, and he said this, he's written this, that these they don't understand the backlash that's brewing from actual white supremacists around this stuff and actual far right people. There's some very I think Bridget Fedesi pointed out that one thing we should be noticing is the actual restraint from a lot of the gun nuts at the moment. I think they've actually, that's been an interesting, she pointed that one out, and I was like, that is actually a very interesting point. I expected it to be a lot more ugly, but I worry, because don't forget, America's got paramilitary, they've got people that are training for this shit, and these people are not people that you fuck around with. They're not like me, okay? They're not just fucking they're not your friend, okay? I'm your friend, and I'm loving you, and I'm defending you even when you're fucking punching me in the face. These fuckers hate you, and you got to worry about them. And I'm not, and that scares me, because the fact that they have now stripped actual white supremacy of its meaning, actual Nazism as its meaning, actual far right of its meaning, it's now meaningless. Now that when we actually see it, and it will come, and that scares the living shit out of me, because they hate me too. Okay, you're fucked. All right, it's just, they're just playing with fire, and they just don't realize it, and it's just so frustrating. I hope we can get back on track. Anyway, I think I've gone too long. I'm tired. I got a headache today. I need Panadol and stuff. I'm not feeling well. My health. Anyway, I'm going to go and try to do some work and stuff. Be nice. Also, don't feed the fucking trolls. Don't feed vampires. You don't owe them anything. You don't owe them your time. You don't owe them your energy. You don't owe them an explanation. Nothing. Right? I'm not talking about, Philip said, I'm not talking about the crazy snapping. I'm talking about a normal person who has lost everything snapping. Well, yeah. Well, that's another thing. Okay. That worries me. It really does. Because I've seen the impact. I feel it. I felt it. I've been like sort of light cancelled. I haven't really had anything devastating happen other than this sort of ordinary shit. And I've also gone through this several times, so I'm not too worried. And even I have those thoughts creep in and I go, fuck, this isn't worth it. This isn't worth it. You know, like, and I can see it and I go, like, if it was someone who's not as mentally strong or gone through as much stuff as me, right, I can see that this doesn't end well. You know, and I want everybody to be safe and well and happy and free to speak, freedom of association, okay? Because if people aren't free, like, there's no point in living. Like, it's just revolting. I hope that, yeah, we need to regulate big tech, big time. I'm going to start pushing for that. I'm going to start lobbying. That's something actually tangible that I can do. It might only be Australia, but it's something that I can actually make happen because it's something that I know very well. And propose policy. I might do a fucking white paper or something and just give it to them. Anyway, I'm going to go. Actually, hang on. Philip said, someone is watching the crazies. Who's watching the normies who are going to snap? Yeah. We're going to see this. This is something that I worry about too, right? People on their last nerve, like especially with all the economic stuff that's going on at the moment, when people are, you know, on shot, the fear of the virus, right? Like you lose a family member to the virus, you lose your job, you have nothing, you feel like when you're in the middle of grief, you have nothing to live for. And some fucking asshole on the internet starts sending messages to everyone around you, accusing you of fucking whatever because of microaggression. That person's going to get fucking hurt. That person's going to get all of the wrath of everything else. And I care about that person's safety too, right? They're basically poking a bee's nest, a wasp nest with fucking sticks. They're children. They don't know what they're playing with. Okay? You can't fuck with people like this. It's not funny. You're fucking nuts. Behave yourselves. This is the thing. So adults, sane people, fucking speak up. Yeah, when there's nothing to lose, even the planet. Oh, well, that ended on a positive note, you fucks. Always trust you lot to keep me fucking in a good mood. Try to be positive and laugh. Try to find the humor in it, okay? Yeah, you know, we have our ups and downs, but always laugh. Always laugh. Go to the grave laughing, okay, no matter what. And if you can't, do you know what I recommend you do? This is what I do when I'm having a bad time, is that I watch South Park, I watch Doug Stanhope, I watch Ricky Gervais, I watch Anthony Jeselnik, I watch all the fucking dark comics, right? And then I just go, Doug Stanhope, just fucking, he does that for me. Watch Doug. Amazing. All right. Watch Joey Diaz. Oh, Joey Diaz is fucking amazing. You know, like watch people like that. People who've lived life, who they keep us sane because they're people who have actually lived life, see it for what it is, and aren't afraid to call out. Billy Connolly is another one. Watch all of Billy Connolly's stuff. You know, watch comedy and try to laugh. Try to just laugh at the world and find a twisted way of looking at it, right? It's all you can do. Let's get through another day. I would love, you know what? I'd love to get my podcast or the boat into a point where when Doug is in town, he comes to my podcast. That would be cool. I would love to interview Doug. It'd be awesome. Fucking he's amazing. He probably would actually. Anyway, I'm going to go. Thank you for your precious last seconds. All of that stuff. If you want to support me, links, blah, 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 blah. This has gone too long. I love you. Stuart Lee's, oh my God, Stuart Lee's gone full woke though. It's hard. He's gone fucking batshit. Don't follow your favorite comedians on Twitter. Anyway, Mike Birbiglia is funny. Mike Birbiglia. That fucking, I can't say that name. My stutter. Mike Birbiglia. Fucking hell. You know the guy. I really like Mike. Mark, what's his name? Mark Maron's special was funny. I told you about this before, where he called Joe Rogan's audience, what was it? A monoculture of free thinkers. That made me fucking laugh. That line, hilarious. I've been hearing about Jimmy Dore actually. I haven't actually seen anything. I just have so many things I've got to watch and fucking too many inputs and not enough output. So anyway, I'm going to go. I love you. Thank you for your precious life seconds. I'll talk to you maybe tomorrow, depending on how I feel. Have a nice life. Become a patron, all that shit if you want. Don't have to, but if you want. Okay. Love you. Bye.